We're at the point where in the morning, want a sweater by late morning, you don't.
Yeah. Well, and I never quite know what it's going to be in Yeah, the issue was temporarily involved
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I was just trying to, you never know if there's some random flavor or some, you know, here we can go because you've got to schedule something on Sunday afternoon. How you doing?
But I was thinking, I realized
Well, you know, she had a lot of years with that stuff.
I enjoyed his picture this morning.
Out talking to people about trying to get people to talent. Musical talent. People, my musical talent. When I sing,
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. Because you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. So on April 3rd, the choir had the opportunity to lead some songs at the Justice in Action meeting. And it was really fun. Apparently, when we walked up there, somebody told me after the event, they saw us walking up there in our church t-shirts. And they said, oh, what are those Unitarians up to now? I took that as a compliment. I was like, yeah. So, and I got a call last week, and they asked us, the drummers, and me to lead some songs at the rally tomorrow. Yay! So 11:30 down at the City County building, and this is one of the songs. So I'm prepping y'all ready. Ready? Here we go. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too. But here I am, right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with... One last time, here we go. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Nice. So you all ready for the rally? That's great. Sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, spread your wings and shelter me. Sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, spread your wings and shelter me. Sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, spread your wings and shelter me. If you know some harmony, that would be great. Sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, sweet spirit of light and love, spread your wings and shelter me.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. My name is Kathy Disney. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a worship associate of this church. Over the past few years, the way that we have met has often changed. But whether in person, on Zoom, or a YouTube live stream, or some way of being that we cannot even imagine yet, worshiping together is a chance to deepen our connection with the sources of meaning in our lives and to proclaim who we are and what we are about, to open the doors and proclaiming the radical love and welcome that is at the heart of our faith. And at this time, Board Member Michael Stratman would like to come up, offer his own welcome, and give us a few announcements.
Good morning. I'm Michael Stratton, a member of your Board of Trustees. I want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time. I have a few announcements to share as our church community extends well beyond Sunday morning worship. Today, after service, we are holding a transition town hall with a focus on pastoral care and right relations. We want to hear your views on the future of our church. Please join us either online or in person. Next Sunday, we will be holding a recycling communion. Reverend AJ will have more information later in the service on this event. And finally, there's an auction update. The spring auction is our biggest fundraiser of the year. We need everyone's participation to make this successful. This is what you can do this week. Go to the auction button at the top of the website. There are instructions for registering your free account at the online auction site. Now you are ready to bid. Make sure and sign up to bake some tasty treats for sale on Sunday, April 20th. Remember, the bidding begins Sunday, April 20th at noon. If you have questions, please check in at the auction table after service. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln aspires to be a loving community uniting reason with spiritual exploration to transform ourselves and our world. We have a big vision here, and we know that creating a loving community begins with welcome. So whether this is your first time here, or your 500th, or your 7th, or your 42nd, if you come here hopeful or heartbroken, whatever your age, gender, skin color, whoever you love, you are welcome here. As we enter into worship, take a moment to center yourself in this place. Find a comfortable place with your body. Take a few deep breaths. And let us continue into worship with our opening words. Our opening words this morning are a responsive reading. I will read the non-bolded part, and you can read the bolded part. Our opening words are from Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving, and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing, and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. Our chalice lighting, continuing a trend, is also a responsive reading. These words are from Brian Kiley. Again, I will do the non-bolded part if you will do the bolded part. In times of darkness, we stumble toward the tiny flame. In times of cold, we seek the warming fire. In times of repression, we reach for the lamp of truth. In times of loss, we pray for the comforting light. In times of joy, we light a candle of celebration. Spirit of life, as we kindle this flame, help us find what we need to say. Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening song, number 1014, Answering the Call of Love. Please use the words on the screen. The words in the hymnal are a little bit different.
Faith, hope, and love abide.
lights on.
Do we invite him?
If any little kids want to come and sit up front, they sure can do that.
Go ahead. That Fateful Day by Kathy Disney. Moose. Moose and Rabbit are the best of friends. They both love the same dessert, cookies and cream ice cream. They play on the same soccer team, and they both love to dance to really loud rock and roll music. They also share a special connection that not many other people know about. They get along really well now, but it wasn't always so. Let's go back to that fateful day when everything turned around. On the playground, Moose and Rabbit played together in the same group, but they didn't really like each other that much. Rabbit would stand very close to Moose when they talked, and Moose thought,
I wish they would stand farther away. This just makes me uncomfortable.
Moose would interrupt Rabbit and finish their sentences, and Rabbit thought,
I wish Moose would take turns talking and not finish my sentences all the time.
on that fateful day, it all came to a head. Rabbit was standing too close, and Moose kept interrupting Rabbit, and suddenly they just couldn't take it anymore.
Oh, please stand farther away from me.
Rabbit jumped back, and Moose stopped talking altogether. They were surprised.
I'm surprised. What did you say?
I said, please stop interrupting me. I want to finish my own sentences. And what did you say?
I said, please stand farther away from me. Being too close makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, I can do that. I didn't know you felt that way.
Now, there, like that. That's what I mean. Just
Do you think you can try to...
stop finishing your sentences? Oh, sure, I can.
There, like that. That's what I mean.
It was clear that Moose and Rabbit wanted to be friends, but good intentions were not enough. They would need some action.
Hey, do you remember last Sunday in RGL when Kim talked about the thing that says how we should treat each other?
Yes, of course I do. It's called a cummerbund.
What?
I think it was cummerbund. It sounded like cummerbund. What was that word? Do you think it was cultivar?
No, cormorant.
I'm pretty sure that's a bird.
Rabbit and Moose are in deep thought. Come on, tick-tock, tick-tock. Can I just tell you the word?
Sure, it's your story.
The word is covenant.
Covenant.
A covenant is a formal promise that you both agree to that says how you will treat each other. It's a very important sort of promise, but it also says you will be honest with each other about how well the promise is working. Do you want to make a covenant with each other right now?
Moose, I promise I will not stand too close to you when we are talking.
Rabbit, I promise to take turns talking and not interrupt you and finish your sentences.
They sealed their covenant with a bow. Because hugging and touching made Moose uncomfortable. And Rabbit now respected that. I wish I could tell you that everything was tickety-boo from that day forward, but it wasn't.
Moose sometimes still interrupted Rabbit, which made Rabbit frustrated. And sometimes Rabbit still stood too close to Moose when talking, and that made Moose frustrated. But they tried hard, and they told each other how they felt, and things got better every day. After a while, the day came when they mostly forgot about the covenant, and they just treated each other the way they wanted to be treated. And that's when they became the best of friends. They love the same dessert, cookies and cream ice cream. They play on the same soccer team. And they both really love to dance to loud rock and roll music. And that is the end of our story.
Now the children are dismissed to go to their classrooms. This morning, we are going to try something a little different from what we usually do. So instructions, here are instructions. In just a moment, I am going to ask everyone, if you are comfortable doing so, to stand and greet someone you don't know. If you know everyone around you, just look a little further on. You can shake hands, bump elbows, bow like Rabbit and Moose did, or hug, but only and always with consent, or just wave and say good morning. Reverend AJ and I will come down and get things started. After a few good moments, I will let you know when this time is over by ringing the bell. For those watching on the YouTube this morning, you can put your good morning greetings into the chat. Here we go.
Please join me now in a time of prayer and meditation. And our prayer this morning is from Angela Herrera. This is a prayer for all the travelers, for the ones who start out in beauty, who fall from grace, who step gingerly, looking for the way back. And for those who are born into the margins, who travel from one liminal space to another, crossing boundaries in search of the center. This is a prayer for the ones whose births are a passing from darkness to darkness, who all their lives are drawn toward the light. And for those whose journeys are a winding road that begins and ends in the same place, though only when the journey is completed do they finally know where they are. For all the travelers, young and old, aching and joyful, weary and full of life, the ones who are here and the ones who are not here, the ones who are like you and they're all like you, and the ones who are different. For in some ways, we each travel alone. This is a prayer for traveling mercies and sure-footedness, for bread for your body and spirit, for water for your safe arrival, and for everyone you see along the way. May it be so, and amen.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, light of love, and in calm battle fight tranquility. Bird fly high, lift our gaze toward distant view. Help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far, and lead us each to see how we move through the wings of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view. Help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that we call symphony.
Good morning. I have a lovely celebration this morning to share with you, to introduce our new membership coordinator, Stephanie Herrick. Stephanie is an English language assessor, a behavioral therapist, a sociology instructor, an office supervisor, and now our Sunday and everyday church ambassador to this beloved community, Stephanie.
Thank you, AJ. Yes, I am Stephanie Herrick. Nice to meet all of you. I recently returned to the Unitarian Church after some time away, and the welcoming I received was so warm, almost overwhelming, and it made me want to be a part of welcoming others, which is what prompted me to apply for this position. And so that's really a testament to all of you and the power that you hold. As I am learning about the church, I think the thing that has stuck out to me the most is just how alive it is. Both ways that are seen, ways that are unseen, gentle rumbles for each other, loud voices within the community. It is truly amazing, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so glad that you're with us. This is a Share the Plate Sunday. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln's Share the Plate program is a visible and tangible way for us to support our partners in the community. Every year, the congregation votes on 10 local nonprofits, and all designated offerings during this month will go to that nonprofit. This week's Share the Plate recipient is the Center for Legal Immigration Assistance, and Jonathan Rubio will now give us a few words about their work.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Jonathan Rubio, and I'm the interim executive director while Mary is out. We are a nonprofit organization here in Lincoln committed to serving immigrants and refugees who would otherwise not have access to legal immigration services. We walk alongside immigrants and refugees as they navigate the difficult legal process. We know that there's constant news. Things always look bleak and dire, but there's good news, and that's what I'd like to share with you today. We've had dozens of Know Your Rights sessions, and we've handed over 1,000 Know Your Rights cards to immigrants in the community. That way they know that regardless of your immigration status, you do have constitutional rights. One of our client success stories we've had recently is Hasina. She came from Afghanistan with her 3 children, all under the age of 10 in 2021. And due to some unforeseen circumstances, her husband wasn't allowed to come with her. And she came as part of the Afghan refugee evacuation process. She was separated from her life partner in a new country in a language she did not speak. She faced emotional pain with her children as she had never been separated, and she is in a brand new location. She came to CLIA. We were able to not only help her with her legal immigration process in getting her asylum, but we also connected her with one of our in-house therapists in order to help her with her mental health journey. Well, we know that healing is more than paperwork, it's about people. Through God's grace and a lot of work, Haseen was granted asylum, and we helped her then apply for her husband, Ahmad, to come to the United States. We fought to get the case expedited, and we were successful. So just this last week, after 4 years, the family was reunited here at the Lincoln Airport. This is why we do what we do. We believe that families belong together, that everyone deserves dignity, and our calling is to welcome the stranger, not just with open arms, but with tools, advocacy, and a faith that can rebuild a life. Thank you for supporting our mission. Thank you for having me, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Jonathan. As a reminder for this morning, any loose cash or checks made out to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln with Center for Legal Immigration Assistance, or CLIA, in the memo line will go to that organization. You can also text your offering to UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256 and designate Share the Plate. That's UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256 and designate Share the Plate. As the next piece of music plays, will the ushers please come forward? The offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you, Jennifer. I love Coldplay. And I see in the order of service, he's listed as Christ Martin. So I think it's Chris Martin. Good morning, Lincoln. It's wonderful to be here with you today. My name is Reverend A.J. Galazin. My pronouns are he and his, and I'm your interim minister. Wherever you are on your spiritual, ethical, or questioning journey, you are welcome here, and I'm glad you're here because we need each other. If you're visiting us today, I invite you to join me in the library immediately after the service for a quick, casual conversation. The library is right outside the sanctuary next to the big tree. Next Sunday is Easter, and we're celebrating Earth Day with a recycling communion. So please, every person, bring one object to add to our recycling bin. We know you recycle already at home, but this is an act. And if you forget along the way, look for something, in the street or whatever. Last week I went home to Wisconsin and enjoyed a blizzard. The drive was great. The blizzard was wet and heavy, but I was cozy in my little house in the woods. I missed the sandhill crane migration here in Nebraska. Hopefully, I will get to see them next year. But I did see a huge flock of trumpeter swans on Lake Superior. I love birds and people, especially when they flock together. On another day, I saw one lonely swan all by itself, an image of solitude and serenity. I've seen ads for funeral homes that feature a swan, and I thought of the story of the ugly duckling, whose divergent appearance was both a joy and a concern, because it didn't fit in at first, but eventually it found its place. Sometimes we may stray from our friends, families, beloved communities, and find ourselves alone. All flocks have their issues. Will you say that with me? All flocks have their issues. We all make mistakes. We all break our word and cause pain and grief, anxiety and consternation. And in our living tradition, if we want to, we can seek reconciliation and swim and fly and bask in the sun together once again. It's called the covenant of right relations, the standard of how we treat each other. And here is your current covenant of right relations, adopted by this congregation in 2017. Quote, within and beyond the walls of the Unitarian Church of Lincoln, we honor the principles and sources of Unitarian Universalism. We treat one another as we would wish to be treated, with respect, regard for healthy boundaries, accountability, open-mindedness, and equanimity, freely offering our tangible and sustained stewardship and engagement to realize our vision and mission. We strive to be guided in our thoughts, words, and actions by these attributes and the supporting statements of intent upon which we have mutually agreed. In day-to-day practice, we covenant to begin our interactions with an assumption of best intentions, to truly listen to one another rather than just awaiting our turn to talk, to assure that what is true for each of us is heard and considered, and to share only our stories, honoring the privacy of others. These are our aspirations, close quote. Now, this is a remarkable and comprehensive document. The statements of intent go on for several more pages to describe in chapter and verse your expectations, good faith practices, and possible infractions. There is something missing, however. There is no regular procedure for holding anyone accountable to the covenant. There is an assumption of a right relations team to assist in reconciling conflict, but such a body is not currently in place. Any issue of broken covenants or questionable behavior goes directly to the Board of Trustees. Without a right relations team, it's like sending any dispute, even a parking ticket, directly to the Supreme Court. Yes, I can be helpful in tending open wounds, but I can't let you off the hook that easy. This is your church. Any minister is a temporary servant, and you will always be more sensitive to your culture of caring and concern. One church that I have visited many times over the past decades has what is to me an unusual custom. As you walk into the sanctuary, there are a few people standing at the front and side of the chancel wearing a simple purple stole, quietly looking at the congregation, sometimes making eye contact and offering a smile. When the service begins, the minister announces that these people are prayer chaplains, and they have arrived early to hold sacred space. And they are available to meet with you both before and after the service, to listen to your needs and to pray with you if requested. Then the chaplains are seated. Now, I've never seen anyone approach a chaplain before the service begins, but I have seen people approach them after the service. And I admire the work of the chaplains. I think it takes a lot of chutzpah to stand calmly and motionless while the community gathers noisily all around you. And I love the words of the pastor, that these people arrived early to hold sacred space. With all the chaos of Sunday morning, this idea of a calm swan waiting resonates with my spiritual understanding. We cannot create something without intention. If we say we want to care for each other, but make no attempt to show how that caring will take place, what have we accomplished? The idea of holding sacred space, to me, is a real thing. No matter how we may theologically disagree about its efficacy, I believe that the space we hold together in this beloved community is different than the space we hold, for example, while shopping for groceries. Although I am always very happy and surprised to run into parishioners at the Hy-Vee or Whole Foods, I believe we are more intentional about our purposes when we gather here at church. I'm reminded of the timeless scripture. Here in my paraphrase, we do not live by bread alone, but by the caring words we share. Amen. Caring words matter. Carol Thomas Sissel writes that not all words are created equal. There can be a false quality in the taste of some words that turns them stale, or, I hazard to say, even rotten. Sissel writes, quote, "Words matter. They lift and hold us. They illuminate the future and shower us with possibilities. When misused, they hurt. Verbal cuts and abrasions sting. Language leaves wounds that become scars." So the practice of holding caring space needs to be more than just saying the words. It needs to build upon our relationships, to interact with our neighborhoods, to create something fresh and wholesome. And this is what pastoral care is all about. Nurturing relationships and responding with small gifts of our time to connect with personal needs, both known and unknown. Unknown needs? This is where it gets a little tricky. If someone doesn't tell us what they need, who are we to insist that they do? Who are we to impose our own needs to be needed by them? And so the watchword here is proceed with a gentle touch. Our kind thoughts and actions should not overwhelm the situation. They should gently hold a caring space. It's often the little things that matter most. Much of our caring is done behind the scenes. And that's why it's important for the church to understand how it works. To truly create and hold a caring space requires every one of us. Not everyone needs to know everyone's business. But we cannot create something without knowledge or intention. If we say we want to care for each other, but make no attempt to show how that caring will take place, what have we accomplished? As you approach the search for your next settled minister, there's an important thing to consider. Each prospective minister has different strengths as well as areas to develop. No one person can do everything. And for the rare person who seems to be able to do everything, There still isn't enough time in the day to actually do everything. It's always a balancing act. And one of the most difficult things to balance for a minister is between being a preacher and being a pastor. Basically, a preacher tries to be interesting, engaging, and inspiring, a big loud mouth. While a pastor needs to be attentive, empathetic, and caring, a good listener. Now, these skills are often in competition with each other. Spending too much time attending to individual concerns may diminish the scope of the Sunday message. On the other hand, too much fine-tuning the oratory may leave a deficit of genuine human connection. Both skills are important, and in many ways they complement each other. But as a congregation, you need to prioritize your wish list so that any minister knows what they're in for. The minister is only as good as the culture they inherit. I have been blessed to meet with many caring people in this church. And I hope many of you will bring your energy and caring and concern and join our town hall after our service today. We don't have chaplains standing silently for people to approach and share what they need. But that doesn't mean that we don't care. Both our intentions and our responses should be clear and reflect our faith. This is a caring community. Say it with me. This is a caring community. We are here to give help when we can and to ask for help when we need it. And every now and then, we might receive some unexpected caring from someone we may not know well, but who cares deeply for us. And that caring person just might be you. Blessed be, may it be so, and amen. Please rise now in body or spirit for our closing song, number 1015. I know I can.
Slide number 2. Can we have slide 2? Larry, wait a minute, hold on. Here we go. Bill, we gotta go back to the beginning. You ready? We didn't have our words. 5, 6, 7, 8. My sister in
We can always get back on track. Our closing words are not responsive. Are from Dinah Maria Mulak Craik. Oh, the comfort, the inexpressible comfort of feeling safe with a person. Having neither to weigh thoughts nor measure words, but pouring them all right out just as they are, chaff and grain together. Certain that a faithful hand will take and sift them, keep what is worth keeping, and then with the breath of kindness, blow the rest away. Go now in peace.
We have a couple options, so.
Patterns don't have to match. This would be my normal day today. I have some pump and dump pants. It's ugly. It don't match. It's worse down. Only family.
Yes.
And, you know, Dad and Ellen, they think that is something today. I go, vibrant. No, I just need to look Are they holding back because they think it's
More storeroom on the left side of the room.
so that if you like I have a couple people that says yes, so if I was needed.
They break apart all the time. Here's one.
If we had
Broken shit really bad. And they just pop out. If you look at the bottom, there's no way to screw them in place. Yeah, I was going to call this company and get some more when they first started. They sent us I don't know why they get these
I like that. It makes it less.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like
We aren't going to talk and disturb you.
You don't need a pencil. Okay. It looks very long because there's room to.
You know, that whole thing about the covenant this morning.
I know. It's just like guilt ridden through me. It's like he's talking to me.
On our way out there. Already do one, or would you like to? You need a pencil? Thank you. I appreciate it. Either of you want to fill out a survey, or did you already?
to see one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It looks very long, but there's lots of safety corrections left by me.
Almost every day it was so.
Either of you need a pencil or a pen?
I have a pen, so.
If you need something to write on, you can sneak up and grab one of those books, right? You're doing one trying to record it, right?
Yeah, okay, that's the good part. I hear you. I have a notebook. You're cute.
I used to, when I was working, I would buy my case and give them to my volunteers.
I started back on the recruitment council.
So when I quit working, I had two.
I told my Canadian facilitator.
So I just covered up my
I would too. I have Wednesday to see young stuff. Yes. I can say I'm going to sit behind him here.
Oh no,
We're not supposed to talk.
We're not.
He is the best. No, we're going to be very respectful. Exactly. Don't want to say and then he knows my kids. I mean, other things. So I'm sure the last week should go pretty quick now.
That's okay. I'm gonna sit here and then I'll leave when I really have to. Yeah. Really? Well, no, I'll probably stay as long as I want, and that would be too long. Okay. What do you got today? I have to edit my video. I'm making a digital video interview. So I have to edit, put in
Good for him. Yes, I know. Yeah.
a little this year. What's Deb doing? Yes, I left her outdoors with the power spring.
Is that right?
Yes. She came in this night, she was excited. Sidewalks, side of the house, is trying to, little by little, get rid of the Texas mud. She's not the mud storm. Okay. Great, snow. We still have some on the side of our house. Yeah, it's black, Casey knows. Yeah. So, it's dirty. Because we got the
Yes.
yeah, that's the dirt I'm talking about. Yeah. You're right, it is protected. Either place, I don't. It seals it down. I started looking at rain in my backyard, just going, put in the sprinkler out there. Clay. Incredibly fine.
You should really know what this is about. Yeah.
Gives me like $2 for a dollar and it's yes, pretty soon we're going to be out there. It doesn't have to be much, all your time. I won't. I looked at it, but I was supposed to say that. You need to have a 10 signal. Maybe when I stop hauling. Oh, no. Which won't be until the end of May. Because I'm not.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
I know that I'm a real light on my
Good morning. It's still morning for a little bit here. Thank you all for staying for our Pastoral Care Town Hall. I have a chalice lighting from Reverend Joe Cherry. And in case you didn't know, our theme for the month of April is joy. So I found this reading, Joy is hard. Joy is hard. Joy requires us to feel safe enough, to be safe enough, to open to vulnerability. To feel joy, you must be brave. Joy walks into a room after the space has been cleared. Cleared of shame, cleared of doubt, cleared of self-recrimination. Joy is hard. Joy is hard, and joy is worth the hard work of preparation. Preparing oneself and setting down all the defenses. all the shoulds and could-haves, all the should not haves and might haves. Joy is worth the work. You are worth the work. You can start small. The simple pleasure of your favorite tea. And I saw some tea today. The grand freedom of a full belly laugh. And I heard some deep belly laughs today. Invite joy to be your companion. Thank you all for coming to this meeting. I don't want to say too much today. Today I'm here really to listen, just to kind of review. I believe in holding sacred space, holding caring space, and that is everyone's job. Every single person. It's like that, rolling that ball up the hill. We need everyone to be part of that. And then the second thing is holding covenantal space. So caring space and covenantal space are related. They're different, but they kind of fit in that same area. And covenantal space is how we are accountable to each other, how we are forgivable to each other, how we are reconcilable to each other. So the caring space, we want to, whatever we can to help each other get through something personal, and then the covenantal space where we're all in this together. And so again, this meeting is to listen to what you think is the next step for this area of relationship building, which in my sermon I mentioned your next minister, whoever that is, will want to know where you're coming from, where you're going, especially in this area of how you treat each other and how you repair your relationship. So when all is said and done, and I don't want this to be a goal-centered meeting, but of course I have a wish list, and that is, there are two goals that I would like. I would like the formation of a pastoral care committee which meets regularly, monthly, and it's a very personal, like I said in my sermon, not everyone needs to know everyone's business, but somebody needs to know everyone's business. And so that pastoral care committee, gently is that place. How is everyone doing? Is there someone you haven't seen in 3 months? Is someone in the hospital? And then the second goal is to form a right relations team. And this is more of an ad hoc specialty, like chaplains, but not really, because they're kind of behind the scene chaplains, conflict investigators, and reconcilers, the accountability piece. So I did see in some of your historical documents that your last interim, and I'm Gretchen Woods, did a lot of work with you in this area, and that beautiful covenant that I read came out of her ministry. But as I read through all the beautiful statements and all of the things, we will do this, we will do that, that's all amazing and wonderful. But where is the accountability? And so finding people that are able to walk very gently in that area to keep us honest with each other. Again, those are two big goals, and your job today is not to, find the answer to all this, but begin a question, because a minister has to decide between how much pastoring and how much preaching and organizing and okay, I think I've said enough because I don't want to say anything more. So the transition team, I will raise them up because they have been essential partners in our whole process of looking through and discussing and learning and surveying you. How many have filled out the current survey on pastoral care? That's good, that's good. But I will now end. There's still time. So.
If you can fill it out online, please do. We have some, but not.
Do you have an online link? I can find it.
It's in the e-blast, but I'm going to just hand you the paper.
What's that? Did you say my name, Kathy? Okay, never mind. Hi, everyone. I'm Angie Foss. I'm just going to read through the two backgrounds of both pastoral care and the right relations. The background on pastoral care was provided by Jackie Egan. So under Reverend Fritz Hudson, there were various pastoral care associates and helpers up until just before the pandemic, but they became overwhelmed and tired. Jean Helms announces major events and life changes of members when she's aware of them and has the consent of the individual. A handful of church members volunteer and reach out to members on those occasions with cards, phone calls, or help. And currently under Caring Connections, we have volunteers who are members of Helping Hands, who knit comfort shawls and afghans, Friendly Faces, which connects with older members mostly, and card senders who send cards when they are requested. So that's a little background on pastoral care. The Covenant of Right Relations background, Christine Davis helped with this, give us this information. So it was developed in 2017 during the interim with Reverend Dr. Gretchen Woods. There was a Saturday retreat on February 4th, 2017 that was open to all and attended by many. 109 separate statements of how we hope to be together were collected. There were 3 fair witnesses that were assigned to compile and draft, and their names are listed there, and I believe Christine is the only one currently still a member and able to attend. Is that correct? Okay. Fair witnesses reviewed the Covenant of Right Relations from 4 other congregations. The fair witnesses presented proposed Covenant of Right Relations and solicited feedback at the May 2017 town halls, and then voted at the spring congregational meeting. A short version is next to the office. A detailed one is on the website. Having a covenant of right relations is important to prospective ministers. Oscar said he would not have considered coming if we hadn't had that in our packet. The covenant of right relations is not a set of policies. It describes how we strive to act toward one another. We knew we would stumble and that the remedy was to extend grace and return to covenant. How is that done? Without a right relations team, we haven't had a process or persons to help guide members back into the covenant. Okay? All right, so I believe we're ready to open it up for discussions.
So, yeah, please raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you, and then we'll occasionally check for online comments. I would just repeat what I always repeat, and that is we want to hold equal, sacred, respectful space for everybody. So please, no like applause or cheering or yay, that's a good idea. No, that's a bad idea. Just respectful silence, please.
I think that we have set some stage that's broader than the few programs that were listed. And what I'm thinking about is the UU Connects that the worship associates put together during the pandemic. I would like to see everyone who's in a UU Connect group, please stand and remain standing. I would like to see everyone who's involved in an open circle group stand and please remain standing. I would like to see anyone who's in a small group that does a check-in that's meaningful to you to stand. We have several different ways that we are connecting with each other in meaningful ways, and I would like to see us include in our pastoral care program a way to keep offering those to new people. I would love to see a UU Connect group be offered for newer people. I've been in one since the pandemic, and the 4 of us meet every week. I'm in a social justice group where we read books. Up to 9 people, we meet every week, and it's very meaningful. That's it.
Thanks, Linda.
Just say your name for.
Alan, I just have a question. Are ceremonial occasions like marriages and end-of-life moments considered pastoral care?
Thanks for the question. And I don't want to really be part of this, but no, in a sense, they are different. There may be pastoral care involvement, of course, in bereavement and personal counseling. So I guess I can say the Pastoral Care Committee is not to replace the minister. In my sermon, and I always love to say that, just to see if you're listening. In my sermon, I said, I am available to help tend open wounds. The Pastoral Care Committee is more about, not in a triage sort of way, not someone that comes into the ER, but preventive medicine or, does that make sense?
Thanks.
I think some of the other groups of people who do get together that are not things like the open circles or that kind of group, but the relationships among the congregation, I think the bridge groups, I think the men's potluck, I think the women's potluck, which by the way is 11:30 on Tuesday, that these also help to nurture relationships among the group, although they're more informal and well, but social is important too.
Thank you, Joanne.
Okay, so I'm going to show my stupidity here. Pastoral care, I thought, my name's Michael. Pastoral care, I was confused as to what it was. I don't know that there's a definition, right? I mean, and the reason I say that is I've been through some stress in the last couple years, reached out, and I got sent a link to figure out when I can meet with the pastor, which felt a little kind of cold. Talked with the pastor. Have a good day. That was really it. No phone calls, no nothing. So I really want our next minister to have this as a really strong strength. Our country's going through some ugliness right now, and I think all of us need a little bit of TLC. And I say this not because I'm upset at anyone. We all are dealing with stuff. If I had hair, I'd pull it out. So, but anyway, I guess I don't know what the definition of it is, and that's why I'm confused and wanted to ask that.
Thank you.
Do you want to try to define it, AJ?
I'm sorry I threw you in the bus there.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I believe at the transition town, or the transition meeting, we all said the same thing. How do we define this?
So an easy answer is every congregation's culture is different. So there are some congregations that are very independent-minded, and you take care of yourself, and I take care of myself. And that can be very hard to change. But as some of us change over time, we realize we can benefit from just talking to someone as not to replace professional therapy or medical attention, but to help each other. Again, I'll quote my sermon at the very end. That person, you might receive some needed word of encouragement or understanding, and from someone you don't even know very well, and that person might be someone in this room. So I guess an easy way is to saying, this is just part of our human mission of being alive, that we're going to respect each other and care for each other. So the very easy answer is we all care for each other differently, right? No two people have the same way of caring. And that's why the committee, because I also said in my sermon, some people want to care so much that it kind of overwhelms the situation. It's because I need to care for you, right? And that can actually make people worse, feel worse. So that's why it's like a tuning fork. And that's why the minister is not all-knowing in this. You know each other much better than I will ever be able to. And so the pastoral committee knows things. They know someone hasn't come to church for 3 months. And that little word can then promote, in the old days, people would bring casseroles and, right. And that the culture changes over time. So it's not so much really of doing anything, but being there, being open for some kind of communication. And certainly the one-on-one with the minister, I'm not trying to downplay this. So I don't know if I've told you before, but interims specifically are told, don't spend too much time with pastoral care. Why? Because it is a heavy burden. We all have issues, I think, right? So that's why I want to make sure that you have this foundation of pastoral care for your next minister to say, wow, okay, you people know, everyone cannot know everyone's business, but some people have to know everyone's business. And get me off the stage, please.
Good morning. I'm Eric. A lot of you don't know me. I'm fairly new to the church. I'd like to reinforce that comment that you just made. I had a similar experience years ago where I felt like my need for pastoral care was handled a little bit impersonally at first. In the long run, I was taken care of, and I appreciate that. I think that this congregation has a very, very strong culture and a very strong community, and I think that informally, you all take care of each other very, very well, and that's been talked about in this discussion. One of the things I'd like to bring up is the importance of having a formal and accessible pastoral care process is for potential new members that come into this church. My observations is that the Unitarian Church, and this is across the country, the Unitarian Church treats new members like, oh, joy, welcome, join us in our mission. People don't, if people who move across the country might come to a church because they want to share that mission that they've already been a part of. Most people who come to the Unitarian Church come from another church. We all know that. They come to this church because they need pastoral care. They came from some trauma.
That's right.
And so that's why we need a process that is upfront and open so people who walk into this door know that we are here for that. Thank you.
Oh, I'm Charlie Ahern, he, him, his. So Michael, pastoral, I was stumbling over the word pastoral, so I looked it up. Pastoral, of, relating to, or composed of shepherds or herdsmen.
That's so Unitarian of you.
Or it could be of or relating to spiritual care or guidance, especially of a congregation. And so I'm not sure if what we want to talk about is pastoral care or some other form of care, helping care. Because I think when I think of pastoral care, I say, oh, the pastor does that. But I don't really think that's clear or what we're trying to do. And so if we could come up with some other word other than pastoral care.
Right relations?
No, to me that's different. Yeah. And
but it needs to be something that somebody
can we just, I'm so sorry, but we're not responding. We're just letting Charlie say his piece, and then we'll move on.
And then the second thing I wanted to say is right relations are very important. And sometimes something happens and someone is very upset and very concerned about what just happened. Did that really just happen? I can't believe that happened here. And we need to be a little possibly less defensive when someone says, you know, this happened and I think this was inappropriate. We need, I like the idea of possibly having a mediator or something like that, that if you feel something's very inappropriate has happened, who do I go to? Is it just the minister, or is there someone else I can talk to say, I don't understand why this happened, and I don't think it should happen again, and what can I do to bring that out to the congregation? I guess that's what I'm thinking.
Thanks, Charlie. We have Marcia.
I'm Marcia, and I certainly don't have all the answers, and those of you who know me know how easily I cry. I've been a hospice nurse over 35 years, and part of my work was working with younger hospice team members to get them to understand what we were doing. And Reverend AJ, your comment about just being there was exactly right. I think sometimes we forget that people, and I lost my husband 15 months ago. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. You need to tell your stories. And just being able to be there and listen. And one of the things I learned working in hospice and palliative care was that you have to be able to set boundaries for yourself as well. So even though there's a lot of kindness and compassion, realizing the boundary issues, because otherwise you do burn out. So I've led a lot of grief support groups. I'd love to start one here. I needed to get through my own grief with Ray's death, and those are his plants up there. So every time I see them, it makes me very comforted. But I'm so glad we're doing this. So thank you all.
Hi, I'm Wooly. I've been coming about a year and a half, I'm not sure. But I think that there's kind of a paradox of, I think there needs to be people that are identified as shepherds or people that you can go to that know how to lead sheep. But it also has to be done in an informal way. And I found the most welcoming thing about the church, although the sermons are great and the music is wonderful, things like coffee before and after church, men's potluck, those social activities. They're informal groups. And, you know, one of the things in these days and times that I really appreciate finding is a group of people with divergent beliefs that you're safe amongst. Okay? Because I think we need to learn about why other people feel this certain way. You know, why is it that, because one of the things I'm experiencing is a lot of confusion about how can they think that way, okay? Meeting with people in a safe place and understanding that, I think, helps. And so I think there needs to be, to continue with the social, informal activities, and then there needs to be a way, and I'm not sure how the answer to this, but how that all of us can understand all of our strengths, so that if somebody's having a problem with their wife is terminally ill, you know, go talk. You know, Marcia is a good person to talk to about that. Probably better than AJ. I don't know. But you know, to know people's strengths, and I'm not sure. We kind of find that out informally in our meetings, and maybe that's the best way. But I think that's an important piece.
Allison.
Hello, I'm Allison. I'm thinking about the size of our church and what we have in terms of capacity right now for volunteers and volunteerism. And in order to not set us up for failure, I think it is really important that we have some safeguards in place, I guess, for folks who would want to be in these volunteer positions. How are we taking care of those individuals so they don't get burned out, so they don't end up in conflict situations, I guess, because these are where the pool of people that we would be looking for is also members of the congregation, and they also need care. And so that's one thought that I'm having. I'm also thinking about how in times of great difficulty, personally, my default is to pull away from this place and to make my circle smaller, because that's what feels most manageable to me. That's where that's what my capacity is. So the idea of having a team that knows that isn't reaching out to me or someone else in that situation when I'm never going to have the capacity to reach back, because I don't think I'm the only person that is in this situation. I think it would be great to know what actually people need and not to have like a one-size-fits-all kind of, oh, we haven't seen this person in 3 months, that means we have to reach out and do this thing. But I'm also trying to think, like, how realistic is it for us to be able to know, to have a pulse on the whole congregation? What kind of a size of committee are we imagining for this size of congregation? So those are two questions I had, I guess. Thank you.
I'm Christine. I think one thing I would like to lift up is that whether it's a relations team or a pastoral care committee, I would love to see training made available to people who have inclinations like this, that includes things about discretion and privacy and what are the boundaries of these roles, and what do you do when you're in the role and what do you do when you're not in that role, because you don't want to lose the opportunity to be in community because you're there in one of those roles. But I do think it's a skill that isn't just a casual type of skill. So I would love to see that that happen. And the other observation I wanted to make, which didn't come out explicitly, but I can say, having worked with Jerry Petter and John Sangster in the work of the covenant, is the aspirational aspect of it, which is that this is not a set of rules, and when you break them, you're in trouble. And I think that it can tilt in that direction, I feel like, where people view it in that way. And so it was really important to us in all the conversations we had as we were putting things together, is to recognize we're going to mess up. We're going to mess up again and again and again. And the object is not to punish or to embarrass, or it's to say, to get through that process of identifying what happened, what do we need to learn to do better, how do we make amends to the harmed, individual, and so forth. And so I think that is really, really important to me as we, and I almost wonder if that's why we froze up with getting a team established. Both of those things. One, that there would be a feeling like, well, if I do that, nobody's going to want to hang out with me, you know? And just the feeling of being like the enforcer or something like that. And that's not you know, what we want to be doing either. So maybe those are helpful observations as we move forward with that.
John Atkinson. This discussion makes me very happy. I think we're doing good stuff. I think something that I sort of had to do a double take on. I think if we were about 50% larger and stopped at that point, that this would be easier. Would have a bigger pool, greater diversity of capacity as well as numerical capacity. It wouldn't fall on the same few people, which is always a tendency that I've observed in the many, many churches I've been to in my life. So keep on keeping on. I think we're great.
Yes, there are several things. I'm Joellen Polsey. Good morning. I have a number of thoughts about this. One, I want to put out there because I see it as a big problem. I don't know what we should do about it or could do about it, but we have a number of members and friends who are suffering from various levels of dementia. And I don't know how we deal with that, but it's a need. And then on a more practical basis, after I became a single person, I've had several surgeries, and without the help and transportation to PT and things like that and food, I could not have survived. And that's what the old pastoral care committee did. And it's critical for people in that situation. I think there was something else, but, oh yes. The other thing is that a few years ago, some people were putting, and I think that's what some of you are referring to as a burden, et cetera. They were putting an expectation that lay people could be professional counselors. Well, I'm a former psychotherapist, and I have a big, big problem with that. Period.
Thank you, Joellen. I think Jen and then Mary Kay.
Hey, Jennifer. And this is just going to follow up on some of the other comments that have been made. I think we need really clear definitions, because I'm one of those people who's also a little confused about what exactly pastoral care. And partly it's because my previous religious space was entirely lay people. And yeah, they got into situations they were not trained for or prepared to handle. And I love the idea of people in the congregation helping each other, but I think we need to put into place some really clear standards and definitions on what they are and aren't able to help with.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay. Two things. The first is I was one of the people who called some of our members to ask for recommendations for a person to serve on the search committee. And my experience was I called people who were no longer members, and we didn't know that. But I also called people who didn't know the congregation. So somehow pastoral care has to include keeping us together in a rich and meaningful way. And the second thing I'll say is 2 years ago, before I came to the board, I started the UUA Pastoral Care Program to learn how to be a pastoral care person, and I was working with Oscar on that. And some people do confuse, I think, pastoral care with therapy. And I went through the first half of the program, and it's really quite different. So that's good. But what I guess I wanted to say is I had to set it aside when I joined the board. But as a board member, I found that very helpful because people do call or email with problems, and that really helped me to sort of listen better and get myself out of the way. That's one of the good things I really learned about the pastoral care program. So if we move forward, I think we ought to investigate that program and other programs that will set those boundaries that you talked about, and not wear ourselves out, because I would guess pastoral care people, if they're not careful, could wear themselves out.
We have an online comment from people in the chat. Julie Anderson says, when working with UUs on a national level, I saw friends and colleagues wounded by various right relations teams comprised of people who employed shaming and thrived on self-righteous indignation. I think we should be careful about the mission of our right relations team should we form one.
Hi, I'm Judy. So a lot of issues have come to the board this year, and we had to search for what we had in place to help guide the board. And we currently have a safety policy in place, and many of you, it's out there in the hallway, and many of you might think that it has to do with intruders or fires, and it does. It covers all those things. But there's also a whole section on interpersonal communication. So every time an issue has come up, we go to the safety policy, which it's reviewed every 3 years. So we have a foundation already that has made its way through generations of people here at the church. You might want to take a look at that, and it's one more leg of our three-legged stool, that's holding us up, that's already in place. So besides our Covenant of Right Relations, take a look at the safety policy, and we can actually move some of that up. It just needs to be expanded, but it's already in place.
Is that on the website?
It's on the website, yeah, under the governance documents. So on the website, you go to members and then governance, and it'll open up in the policy statements. I think it is actually page, I could almost tell you what page, because my safety policy is bookmarked to it. I think it's page 13, but I'll let that one go. I'm not an expert on that. I'm not going there, so thank you.
So you're going to get Sandra? Okay.
One of the best things that ever happened to me was the group of mothers. We all had little kids, and there were 6 of us. And we needed to celebrate each other's birthdays because nobody celebrated ours, and we celebrated theirs. I think there are 2 of us left, but Pat Stevens, one, of course, she's on the East Coast. But that was the most wonderful thing. We would eat in the park, and we'd take our lunches. Rarely ever ate out, but it was a time to share and get through all these struggles one goes through. We didn't need a minister. We just needed to share that. And if you can have a group that you can get with together, I just think it is a lifelong generation, you might say, of helping hands and thoughts. And, you could share without. When I went to our ministry, he says, well, go see a psychiatrist. That was his solution to problems we were having. So I found that a very uncomforting kind of thing. There was no minister there. He didn't earn his money, Mom.
Hi, I'm Julie Gibson, and I just wanted to add a comment. When Gretchen was here with us, one of the things that she did that had gotten me through a terrible time, and it's one way that I think when we think of a pastoral relation, we can expand easily or more easily when we increase the number of people involved in providing that kind of a service. And one of the things that she put together was a grief support group. And I have led different grief support groups. Hers was educational, it was open to everybody, and it was opening my eyes to all of us are experiencing grief in different ways. And given where I live right now, I'm in a nursing home, not where I expected to be at 70, but, all right, 73. But I think there are so many talents within this church that could contribute to that kind of a support network. I know other churches, St. Mark's is one that does a divorce support group. I would like to see one for people like me who are in transitions, and I hear from people every day at the South Lake Nursing Home where I live who talk about, I had to lose everything. I had to give up my home. I had to give up all of my belongings. I had to give up my career. I had to give up. And, you know, you deal with losses every day, and so many of us are in that group that I think a loss group, people think, oh my, that sounds terribly depressing. But getting us through this so that we can find the joy again as we rebuild ourselves after a lot of losses, I think is a pivotal role that the church could play for people. I would like to see that kind of thing, and I think if we talk about pastoral care, that fits into the group of how we can minister to each other. Thank you.
Okay. We'll try to get everybody onesies before we give you twosies, but I don't see anybody else's hand, so go for it. All right. Tom, then Charlie.
Right here, right now, pastoral care would be turning the fans down. There's a cold draft.
Yep. Tom, I love the draft.
So I'm a member of a UU Connect group and an open circle. I would encourage people who are not part of a small group of some kind like that to try it out. And I also, people who have spoken about grief groups and other, I want to call them specific interest groups, I think that would be a really good thing to see what types of groups like that the congregation would support or needs. So maybe we could think about creating small groups that are about for specific purposes, I guess.
Erica Berkey Rios, she, her, hers. And I'm sorry if I missed this. I know there are older folks that aren't driving, some who would like to come to church, or even maybe folks who are ill or going through a temporary illness that might need help getting rides to church. But it really doesn't feel like we have any systematic way to do that. So it would be so great if we did. And it can't be, I don't think it's rocket science. I think we need to I think there's a way to do it and that we can. But I feel like there's lots of people, as someone who also called for the ministerial search committee, I think there's a lot of people falling through the cracks that are lonely and would really like to be engaged who aren't and can't make it here physically and aren't necessarily, maybe they are watching on YouTube, but they also might like to come.
Thank you. I have one online comment, and then we'll go back to Pam, okay? Melissa Lashley says, I would like to see a more conversational digital platform like Slack or Discord used as a general means of communication, something that is not Facebook.
My name's Pam, and my pronouns are she, her. Having had several surgeries, and this spanned different ministers that we had, I still think it's important that the minister is aware of those situations and makes some attempt to either visit or call. And sometimes, like other people said, there needs to be a follow-up call or something too. But I just, you know, if it weren't for the people in the church, I would have probably left and thought, well, F you, you know, you can't bother to call me. So I want to keep that in mind too. I think pastoral care among us is very important, but I think we all have to work together, and the minister is part of that. Thank you.
Just a brief comment. I would not be here without transportation. And I have this lovely couple who've come and picked me up. And it's just nothing like it, because otherwise I would not be here.
Joellen Polzine, I just want to say that a few years back, we had the city divided into quadrants by where people live, and there was a system for rides. I wasn't deeply involved in that, but some people were, and they would know.
Thank you.
John again. The system for rides would be very important. There are a couple of other blind people who would be here if the buses ran on Sunday. We cannot rely on public transportation, which is one thing we need to fix. But in the meantime, other congregations do it. Let's figure out our way of doing it. If I recall correctly, every beginning programming class has the salesman's route problem for the new programmers to solve, which it seems to me would be is probably the basis of Uber and Lyft. And surely we could employ something like that. There's probably even open source software out there, and if not, well, we can fix that. So, you know, again, you're right, it shouldn't be rocket science. But it's really important to, especially to people with disabilities, when the city system is, at this point, inadequate.
Are there folks, I want to come back to the folks who have their hands up, but I also want to make space for people who have not commented yet to do that before we round back. And a deep silence hung over the room.
This is just pastoral care comments, right?
Yes.
And Covenant of Right Relations.
Pam again. I just think maybe we should have on our wish list, think about having some kind of vehicle that we could have for use of the church business, as well as picking up people, you know, having kind of a route. And I'm sure that could cause some, you know, insurance and licensing and all that. But I think that's something to consider and put on a wish list. Thank you.
Hi, it's Julie, and I just have one more comment I wanted to make. Please don't forget with any planning that there are a lot of us out there who are not connected to the internet and who do not have access to the web page and the e-blast and all of those things. I didn't even know what some of the things were that were mentioned. But please don't, forget that there are some of us out there who are just plain dumb when it comes to navigating that system, and we don't get messages that come along.
As other people talk, you think of other ideas too. Christine, I just wanted to amplify one thing that was sort of touched on, and that is, I'd love to have us keep uppermost the idea of empowering all of us to provide pastoral care in small ways, and whether that's through classes, whether it's through sermonic themes, whether it's through a town hall, or, I know I went to several different trainings about aging, about end-of-life choices, and just different things that I got to interact with a lot of different people. But it helped me be able to respond to somebody moving through certain things that I wouldn't necessarily have known. So I love the idea of empowering all of us, and maybe that helps with that overload piece.
Just to piggyback off the not everyone is connected to internet, at one time we had we had weekly information, like announcements, bulletins that we would give out on Sunday for the week ahead. And I think it had a place, and I think it might still have a place.
Thank you, everyone, so much for this wonderful, deep discussion. It's been fantastic. I will make a few comments now, because you raised some questions that I feel I can answer immediately here. What size of committees? I think Allison asked that, and that's a great question. For the right relations team, I think 3 people would be just lovely. And they are not the perfection police, the enforcers. No, no, no. It's only when it rises to a level where people are in a conflict situation that we sit down and they help us get through that. I hear some of your feelings about the word pastoral, and so that is used just to link us in with other people who use that word. But I served a congregation who didn't like that word, and so they formed what they called a caring network. A caring network, which again assumes that we all have a place in it, but it was divided into kind of some specialties like transportation or food or, so that's just one thing to think about. But then there's also the need for the caring committee, which is and I would say maybe 5 people, who are really dedicated to keeping this on the agenda of the congregation. And then that caring committee uses the caring network, right? So a lot of people that are doing the caring do not have to go to the monthly meeting, but some people do. The caring committee is just there. What's going on? What have we heard? And then the last thing, Pam, I think, mentioned about how there's a difference between the minister and the lay in this kind of spiritual ministry. And that reminded me of another church I was at where, you know, some people, maybe some in this room, if you hear the minister is coming to see you, you think all hell is breaking loose, right? But the committee helped me by sending a member of the committee. So it was me and a member of the committee meeting with someone to just like, yeah, we're just getting to know each other. And that was really great. I think it was great for the person. It was great for me because I don't want to impose on anyone. And so a lot of times, you know, it's nice to have some kind of mediation. The last thing I'll say is it was brought up by several of you, small group ministry has been very helpful to you. And that is a whole nother thing. Small group ministry is not pastoral care. And that is on my eventual list, but we can only do so much, right? We can't take on everything. There are groups, these UU Connect and the Open Circles that are continuing to meet, but I have to be honest with you, they are completely on their own, and there's no real connection right now with the congregation, a formal connection. But you know what? You don't need permission to have friends. Are there any people in here that are friends that haven't registered with the congregation? Right? So friendship is wonderful. But one thing I am looking at for next year is to fortify this small group ministry. You know, because without it, groups kind of tend to stay together, and that's fine, but we always want to be welcoming the new members and people. And with our new membership coordinator, we're hoping that more people can get involved in small group ministry, because that is a really important part of the beloved community. And I have another meeting now at 12:30. So thank you again. Have a great week. See you next week at Easter.
I might just add that if you are interested, if you are interested in being on either the caring committee or the right relations team, please reach out to a member of the transition team, however you can, you know, in person or phone or email, or send an email to the transition email, and that will be our action afterwards. I also have a meeting. Thanks.
Nathan, did you leave any coffee out there? No, there's no more. There you go. Yes, ma'am.
We weren't able to do it with Friday. Designated friends. So now we have designated friends who will take your call and help you out. I'm sorry. Well, it's not
I
bad
had some
advice.
cookies because I was hungry. You know, eating after church stuff is good.